You want to enjoy whiskey, but you don't want the whiskey burn. Well, what if whiskey wasn't hard to drink? What if it was easy? What if I told you it can be? Try the light, easy taste of Canadian Mist whiskey. Triple distilled and aged in oak on the shores of the Georgian Bay. Canadian Mist. All whiskey, no bite. Drink responsibly. Canadian Mist, blended Canadian whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, Brown-Forman, Louisville, Kentucky.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
Tweets are rolling in on this Geno Smith, Michael Vick, whose decision is it? Let me read a couple at Rothenberg, ESPN. Frank Kalu, 21. Of course, Vick playing gives them the best chance to win this year. Geno playing gives them the best chance at Mariota or Jameis. Well, you know what? You tell me. Would you rather win 4 games this year or wind up with Marcus Mariota at the end of the season? Let's see. Preet, a 1393. At this point, let's just see if we can get anything at all out of Geno Smith. Vahi, 5505. We all know Vic does not like playing at this point. Jimmy James, 82. Who cares? Blow the whole thing up. And, of course, pre-Thanksgiving, we're all in good moods. We're all going to see family and friends. And the lovable Doel Morales says, keep piling it on the Jets and forget the Giants have one more win. Oh, you're a Giants fan. It all makes sense now. Hashtag loser. Well, as nice as that is, I've said nothing nice about the Giants today, Doel. Nothing. I think the Giants stink. I've told you all year that, in fact, the Giants stink. But I think what you forget is that as bad as the Giants are, they're not laughable. They're not. The Jets right now are laughable. The Giants' play on the field is laughable. That last series that Dallas had the ball and went right down the field and Tony Romo had more time to throw than I've ever seen was laughable. But what the Giants are in the front office and the head coach and the organization is not laughable right now. All right, Jeff Candelmo. How are you?
Hi.
Good? Good. You well?
I'm fantastic.
Good. You excited for Thanksgiving?
Eh.
Yeah, that's great. All right, we're going to play a little game here. Now, you created this game, and you love this game.
It's my brainchild. But
now I've taken the game over, and I kind of own it. So I appreciate you creating it, and I will now take it over. This is how people are going to have the opportunity to win Knicks and Cavs tickets. Okay? You ready for this? What you have to do is take the answers. I want the name and whether he was an NFL player or came over on the Mayflower. So Pilgrim or player and the name, and we'll give you 3 over the next little bit. And the first person to text the answers to 44202. No, actually, it's not the first. We take a random person to text over to 44202, and you can win Knicks Cavs tickets next week at the Garden. You ready, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Richard Clark. Passenger on the Mayflower or NFL player playing on Thursday?
I am actually a Thanksgiving aficionado, and I know that Mr. Richard Clark came over on the Mayflower in 1620, not 1492 like Ryan said yesterday.
All right, you're so full of it. There's no way you're a aficionado of people that came over on the Mayflower.
I love history, and that was one of my favorite points in history.
Okay, so name me 3 other families that came over on the Mayflower.
The Smiths.
Uh-huh.
The Joneses.
The Joneses, yes, of course.
And the Matthewses.
Okay. Yeah.
Great families that came over.
The best.
They're like the Kennedys.
And they all live in Greenwich. All right, Richard Clark. In fact, Jeff, I don't know where you're getting this from. He was a passenger on the Mayflower. Do you know who recruited him to the Mayflower?
No, I don't. But wait a minute. I told you I know my stuff, and I can hit my own sound effects now.
He was recruited by Mr. Thomas Weston of the London Merchant Adventurers. So you need Richard Clark, Pilgrim, and that's your first part of the text you'll need to get over to us at 44202 when we finish the 3 people who have come over on the Mayflower or are playing, in fact, on the game.
What a pilgrim he was, indeed.
What did he do when he came over? Do you know anything about this
Probably
guy?
started some farm and a house and stuff.
Oh, wow. What a man. He started a farm and a house. No wonder we pay honor to Richard Clark some, what are we, 400 years later? How about that? All right, Devon in New Jersey. You're on the Ruocco and Rothenberg show on ESPN New York. What's up,
Hey,
Devon?
what's up, Rook? How are you, man?
It's Rothenberg, but I'm good, buddy.
Not much. Happy Thanksgiving. Pretty
Thank
much,
you,
man,
too.
when it comes down to my horrible Jets, man, I just don't know what to say as of right now. Like, to answer your question, to go with on Monday, I'll still go with Michael Vick. But what quarterback can you really put behind that awful offensive line? I mean, for next year's draft, I would definitely consider drafting on the new offensive line because all year long, our quarterbacks have just been running for their lives, just like you said. It's horrible.
Yeah, well, you know what, Devon? Here's the thing. All right, offensive line, of course, you need it, but great quarterbacks make average offensive lines look a lot better. I mean, look, and I'm not comparing it, but you could put Aaron Rodgers behind almost any offensive line, and he's just that great because he's got the mobility and he's so good, and he's just a wonderful quarterback. And again, he's a rare breed. But how many first-round picks do you need on an offensive line? And I understand if you have the third pick or the fourth pick and there's a stud left tackle out there, but you got DeBrickashaw Ferguson, right? You've got Nick Mangold. So you got two top picks on that offensive line. They went out. And by the way, how bad was the kid that they brought in from Seattle? Giacomini? Oh, my God. I mean, he was just – I don't think it gets worse than that. And Mario Williams is a tremendous rushing end. But, I mean, Giacomini looked like he wanted no part of that. None. Chris in New York. You're on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Dave. What's going on?
Not much, buddy.
Listen, they have to play Michael Vick. They can't play Geno Smith. How do you expect Rex Ryan to stand in that locker room and tell the whole team, I'm not going to give you guys the best chance to win? Whether they're out of the playoffs or not, as a football player and athlete, you're competitive. How are you going to tell them we're not going to be competitive today?
Well, let me ask you this. Who started the most recent game for the Jets? Right? It was who? It was Michael Vick. And how did that work out? They lost 38-3. He was awful. The offensive line was terrible. So look, I get it. That players in the locker room probably, and I don't know that this is for sure, but probably believe that Michael Vick gives them a better chance to win than Geno Smith. But they just had Michael Vick. They looked completely lost out there. So you're going to sit here and you know what? If it's a situation like Colt McCoy in Washington, and you talk about dysfunction, by the way, but Colt McCoy in Washington played at Dallas and played really well and probably gained a lot of confidence from his teammates. And then RG3 can't beat anybody. So you know what? I get it, that if you're a member of the Washington Redskins, that you might fight for Colt McCoy. But every moment we've seen Michael Vick this year, outside of the Steelers game where he was mediocre. I mean, he threw one really good deep ball. Outside of that, he was mediocre at best. So we're going to sit here and say that you got to play Michael Vick or Geno Smith? I don't care. I really don't. I don't care if you sign a guy off the street and played him at quarterback. My whole issue with this thing is how it's being decided. And if Rex Ryan, who's still the head coach, he still is. If you don't want him as your head coach, then fire him. Then fire him, let Morningwig be your head coach, and then let John Idzik make every decision that needs to be made. But if Rex Ryan is the head coach, and Rex Ryan is trying to win games, and Rex Ryan looks at this team and says, you know what, I have a better chance of winning with Michael Vick than Geno Smith, then you know what? Michael Vick should be your starting quarterback. 800-919-3776. Frank in Yonkers, you're on ESPN Radio. What's up, Frank?
Thanks for taking my call. I'm twofold. Matt Sims doesn't earn. If McElroy earned himself a shot at 3, why didn't Sims get a shot somewhere along this whole line? Kid's got a strong arm, great character. Well, how much worse could he do? That's
well, you know what? Maybe that just tells you, Frank. You know, Matt, thanks for the phone call. Maybe that kind of tells you of what they think about Matt Sims. Because think about this, right? Michael Vick has been dreadful and is an older quarterback. Geno Smith has been dreadful, and I don't know that he has a place on this team. Matt Sims, if he hasn't distinguished himself enough right now, then why in the world, if you're the Jets? If they don't give him a chance, then what does that really say about Matt Sims? At this point, it's not about the quarterback. It's about the decision-making that I have an issue with.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
Thank you, Bill Daughtry. It is Ruocco and Rothenberg with you on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. So we got one more player or pilgrim question coming your way. Big weekend of the NFL, isn't it? We'll get into that in a moment. Cowboys, Eagles. Tomorrow's a great day. First of all, you're with your family, and everybody's got like that uncle that's just weird or makes those off-color jokes. I have that as well. We all do. But you got a full meal of turkey and stuffing and pies and mashed potatoes and yams, and it's delicious. And then you've got 3 good games. Now, Bears-Lions is the least of the 3, but here's the thing about Bears and Lions. Lions need the game. Lions are 7-4. They were 7-2, and if they don't win this game, the season slowly starts to fall apart. So that's number 1. Your second game is great. As much as it pains me, is it possible that both teams lose? Really. Eagles, Cowboys, I better be careful how much I have in my stomach at that point, because if I have too much, I could just throw up. Watching the Eagles and Cowboys battle for first place, but it's a huge game. And I don't know, I feel dirty watching this game on Thanksgiving. And that's your 4 o'clock game. And then to cap it off, and usually you don't get a great game. I remember the Giants played the Broncos one year. It wasn't great. The Jets played the Patriots. I think it was the butt fumble game a couple years ago. Was a blowout. But tomorrow night is great. San Francisco, Seattle is a phenomenal game. So we'll look at the games around the league in just a quick moment. Mike in New Somewhere. I don't know where you're at, Mike, but you're in New Somewhere, and you're on the Lexus of Route 10 hotline. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, hi, Dave. Great show, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
You were asking before about the decision who should play quarterback, if I was happy with the decision, who made it. I think it's a thing John Idzik's trying to do to save his job. He's hoping that Geno plays good for the next couple of games, and he could just fire Rex, and hopefully he'll save his job. I hope that doesn't happen, because that means next year we might have Geno Smith again.
I don't think you have to worry. And thanks for the call, Mike. We just spoke to Rich Cimini, and Rich was adamant that no matter what. First of all, how could Geno Smith realistically? And look, even a broken clock is right twice a day. We know all these sayings, and God, a guy could just have a great day. But how could Geno Smith have 5 great ones? I just don't think it's possible for Geno Smith to take the reins now, have 5 great games, and make this organization believe that he's the quarterback of the future. I think it's improbable at best. And I think that we're at the point now where Rex can't save himself. Rex is like that. I don't even want to give a weird analogy, so I won't. But, Rex is a guy that always seems to, no matter how much he's backed into a corner, always seems to fight his way out. Doesn't he? Always seems to fight his way out. And it almost feels like there's nothing more you could do. You know what it's like? It's like in The Godfather. This is a terrible analogy, but it's like in The Godfather when Tessio says, for old times, anything you could do. And they're like, sorry, Sally, there's nothing we could do. It almost feels like that way with Rex right now. No matter what Rex does over the final 5 games, no matter how much Woody Johnson loves him or thinks he's a great guy or a cool guy or the biggest, baddest, most fun guy at the party, there's nothing that can be done now. And what will bother me, and again, I was talking to Michael Kay about it the other day, and he's right. What will bother me is if John Idzik is employed next year by this organization. And Michael Kay said, I won't call for firing guys. You know what? When I see a guy who's taken an organization and run them in the exact opposite direction of what you're looking for, that guy can't keep his job. And they've gone from bad to worse under John Idzik. What's the plan? What's the plan with this team right now? I have no idea. You look, the offensive line was a strength. It's average at best. The running game is fine. The receivers, The quarterback stinks. The defense, which was so good, well, what are they now? What are they now? All right, real quickly, let's look at a couple of the big games this week, and we'll give you the third and final clue and answer for how you can win those Knicks and Cavs tickets. Philly-Dallas is a great game. I think Philly's going to win this game, and I'll tell you what. I think Philly's a more complete team right now. I think Dallas's defense is not good. I watched the Giants go up and down the field on them. I saw Eli had a very, very good game. And I think the Eagles find a way to slow the Cowboys offensively, and Mark Sanchez does just enough, and Chip Kelly finds a way that the Eagles win this game. And then just a great game. Sunday, 4:30. There's only 2 4:30 games on Sunday. Arizona, Atlanta, and New England, Green Bay. And here's the thing about New England and Green Bay. If New England wins, if they go into Green Bay and beat the Packers, what can they not do? Really, they've beaten Denver. They beat Indianapolis. They beat Cincinnati. If they go into Green Bay, who's playing as hot as any team in the NFL right now, and beat the Packers, what can they not do? So I almost think from a balance standpoint of the NFL, I want Green Bay to win, because if New England wins this game, I don't see any way they don't go to the Super Bowl. None. And I think Green Bay at home is just such a deadly, deadly, phenomenal team.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.
You want to enjoy whiskey, but you don't want the whiskey burn. Well, what if whiskey wasn't hard to drink? What if it was easy? What if I told you it can be? Try the light, easy taste of Canadian Mist whiskey. Triple distilled and aged in oak on the shores of the Georgian Bay. Canadian Mist. All whiskey, no bite. Drink responsibly. Canadian Mist, blended Canadian whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, Brown-Forman, Louisville, Kentucky.
It is Ruocco and Rothenberg with you on ESPN New York 98.7 FM. Rich Cimini will join us in just a moment to give us his take on who made this decision. He's got a really good article on ESPNNewYork.com. And to make matters worse for the Jets, it's 20 years since the fake spike from Dan Marino to Mark Ingram. We'll get to all that. Your calls as well at 1-919-3776 on the New York Jets. But first, we have to find out what's going on in the world of sports. And how do we do that? Bill Daughtry.
Happy day before Thanksgiving, Dave Rothenberg. Lots of quarterback news on this Thanksgiving Eve. None from contending teams. The Jets will return Geno Smith to the starting spot on Monday night against the Miami Dolphins. Smith improved from 3 first-quarter picks in his last start against Buffalo to 10 of 12 in relief of Michael Vick against Buffalo. That was in Monday's 38-3 loss. Robert Griffin, the other quarterback in the news. Washington has elected to start Colt McCoy over RG3 in Sunday's game against the Indy Colts. Knicks play in Dallas tonight. Coverage follows Michael Kay show. Carmelo Anthony, forced out of Monday's game in Houston with back spasms, is listed as doubtful for tonight. Knicks have lost 6 consecutive games on the road. Nets are also on the road tonight. Brooklyn loses of 6 of their last 7. They'll try and avoid becoming Philly's first win of the season. Sixers are 0-14. NHL has the Rangers at Tampa Bay. Tonight's broadcast on 7:10 a.m. and the Islanders host Washington. Now, back to Ruocco and Rothenberg.
Thank you, Bill Daughtry. 800-919-3776 at Rothenberg ESPN in case you want to chime in on what's going on with the Jets right now. And look, the Giants stink. And nobody, Rich Cimini is going to join us in a second, nobody denies it. They are a bad football team. But you know what? I don't get the feeling of dysfunction when I look at the Giants. I kind of get the feeling of dysfunction when I look at the Jets. And all right, let's bring in our guy, ESPNNewYork.com, Rich Cimini. Rich, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and let's look at this New York Jets team right now. Before we even get into who made the decision, what do you think about the decision for Geno Smith at quarterback Monday night against Miami?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, same to you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. And, I mean, you knew a few weeks ago when they benched Geno that he'd eventually come back at some point. I don't think it was going to be the end of him. They want to get a further evaluation. I have no problem with the actual outcome of the decision. I mean, at this point, they're mathematically eliminated. You know what Michael Vick is. You don't need to see any more. I'm a little surprised by it because everything I had been hearing yesterday was that it was going to be Vick. But you might as well take a look at Geno. I think I have no problem with the actual outcome of the decision. It's just how they got to the decision that I think is the word you used, dysfunction, I think is a good way of describing it.
All right, well, let's look at this. You know better than we do, certainly, but I want your take on what went on. Was this the issue of Rex wanted Michael Vick and John Idzik said, no, Geno Smith will start in this game?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the feeling in the building yesterday was that they were going to play Vick on Monday night against the Dolphins. And then late last night, the decision came down to start Geno. And, I think John Idzik's fingerprints are on this one. It's his draft pick. He wants to see Geno succeed. Probably helps his cause. Let's face it, everyone's in self-preservation mode right now. Rex will be gone, but Idzik is fighting for his job. So if they can get a strong finish out of Geno, then certainly that would probably help his chances of sticking around. So it's a very, in my opinion, I think most coaches would agree the head coach should have final say on the lineup. And then
totally agree with you. 100% agree with you. Here's my issue. Tell me this is not true. What happens if Geno Smith in the final 5 games looks pretty good, Rich? There's not a chance that next year he's the starting quarterback to begin the season, is there?
Well, think about that for a second, though, Dave. I mean, with this offense, what are the odds of him playing well over the last few weeks? I mean, it's
none. But you know what? If I was a Jets fan, you know what my biggest fear would be? That this guy looks decent over the last 5 weeks, and somehow this team goes into next season thinking, okay, we got our quarterback for the future.
Yeah, I mean, they got sucked into that last year. They got all excited about his finish, and it was an okay finish. I guess everyone was so desperate to see improvement that they kind of put more stock in it than it should have been, and they fell for it once. I don't think they would fall for it again. Anything, unless he turns into Aaron Rodgers overnight, would happen. I don't think they'll fall for it. And plus, the people who will be making these decisions may not even be here now. So I think you take it for what it is, 5 games, meaningless games at the end of the lost season.
All right, let's play a really quick game. Yes or no in a 10-second answer. Michael Vick is on the Jets next year.
No. Because it'll be a different coaching staff. It won't be Marty Morningwake. That's his guy. So, no, I don't think so.
Geno Smith will be on the Jets next year.
I do think so, because he's got 2 years left on his contract at a very low cap number. I don't think you just don't really cut quarterbacks, regardless of how good they are. So I think he'll come into camp. Whether he'll be on the 53-man roster, I don't know, but I think he'll be in camp.
Rex Ryan will be on the Jets next year.
No. That's a foregone conclusion now. The day after the season, I think Rex will be fired. I think he knows it. I think everybody around here knows it.
And then the big one, John Idzik will be the GM of the Jets next year.
Yeah, that one I don't know. Boy, if they go 2 or 3 wins, I think he could be gone. But I think that one's still up in the air. We'll have to see how this plays out over the last 4. It wouldn't shock me either way.
All right. Now, I was on ESPNNewYork.com earlier today, and you have, and Jets fans must love you for this. You have an article up, and I remember the game. I remember watching the game where Marino faked the spike and went to Mark Ingram, touchdown in the corner of the end zone. I can't believe it's 20 years already, Rich.
Yeah, I was covering the game. It was extraordinary, and we have a story posted now. I started about 5 weeks ago. I interviewed actually 20 people, former players, coaches, even the announcers, Marv Albert and Paul McGuire. Got a hold of one of the game officials, and even a ball boy, just to recall their recollections. And really, one play that changed the course of a franchise. The Jets went on to lose 32 of 36 games after that. And talking with Marino, Schuler, and all the Jets, recollecting just on really how it affected players to this day, Dave. I mean, they get teased by colleagues. Like Marvin Washington said, he used to work in a Merrill Lynch office in Dallas, and guys would take out their laptops and punch it up on YouTube and mock Marvin for being in on that play and falling for the fake spikes. So it's really something the players have lived with. They were very good about talking about it, kind of almost joking now, but it's something that just hasn't gone away.
I can't believe that someone would mock Marvin Washington to his
I
face.
mean, it just comes up all the time. I mean, of course, the Dolphin players were, regaling in the memories of Marino's play, and I talked to Bertie Kosar and how they actually had been planning that. They were game planned it that week, but the Jet play, I can tell you, I probably talked to 8 or 9 people on the Jets, and I think probably half of those interviews began with an expletive, like, oh, damn, or something of that nature. Why do you want to ask me about that? But they were very gracious, and Aaron Glenn, who obviously was the guy who got beat on the play, was fantastic, and just reminiscing about that play.
All right, Rich, thank you. Have a very happy holiday. Always a pleasure to catch up. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Dave. Same to you.
All right, good stuff. That, of course, Rich Cimini. So if it's not bad, it's worse with the Jets. We now have to relive this 20-year anniversary for the fake spike play at Giant Stadium, and now the Jets are making decisions that maybe half the organization disagrees with, and the GM is saying this is the way it's going to be. We continue with the Jets, 1-800-919-3776. I got some good tweets as well. You can tweet over to me at Rothenberg ESPN, and you have a chance to win Knicks Cavs tickets. And how? We're going to play a game that we all love. Playing on Thanksgiving, or did they come over on the Mayflower? If you don't know it, you'll love it. Ruocco and Rothenberg, ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York, 98.7 FM.
As the snow comes pouring down, it's not a white Christmas, it will in fact be a white Thanksgiving here in the tri-state area. Lot for us to get into. We'll keep you posted on what's going on with the weather and the traffic, certainly, and the Jets and the Giants and the Knicks and all the locals. And we know the Islanders are the best local team in New York right now. But when I woke up this morning, when I went to sleep last night, in fact, the news was that I thought Michael Vick was going to be the Jets starting quarterback on Monday night, and I was fine with that. I was. I mean, I don't even think it really even matters that much at this point. That's why I kind of laugh at this and all the analysis and who's making the decision. The truth is, the Jets are bad. Michael Vick is not good. Geno Smith is not good. Truly, what's really the difference? But let's get into it. So I go to sleep. Michael Vick, he's going to be the quarterback. I wake up, and Geno Smith has been named the Jets quarterback for Monday night. Does it really, truly matter? Now, to me, if I had to, and I don't think it matters. I don't think either of these guys are the answer for the future. I don't think either of these guys are very good. I think Michael Vick is honestly getting paid right now, and that's what he's doing here. And I think Geno Smith is not very good. But, and Rich Cimini will join us in 5 minutes from right now to give us his take on who the decision maker was. If you said to me, Dave, you got to decide which guy you're going with, I would actually go, and I really would. I would actually go with Geno Smith. Why? Because I know what Michael Vick is. I know that Michael Vick is, at this point, a shell of what he used to be. He's not very good. Athletically, he's not the same. He's always hurt. He's a turnover machine. I know that. Geno Smith, I know in my heart that he's not a good quarterback. But why not play him? Like, what's the downside at this point? Really? I mean, what's the downside of playing Geno Smith? Is it that you're going to lose games? Well, you're going to lose games anyway. Is it that you're going to get embarrassed? You've been embarrassed anyway. Well, what is it? What's the downside right now of playing Geno Smith? And you know what? I don't see it. I really don't. I don't think he's good. I don't think by watching him against Miami twice and New England and Tennessee that I will change my view. I don't think that Geno Smith is an NFL caliber starting quarterback, and I think by the time the season ends, I will stand firm on that take. But there's no downside. At least, you know what? At least let's watch what the kid can do. That's it, right? I mean, look, the Jets organization is a mess right now. Now, I don't know how it went down. You hear rumblings that Rex wanted to go with Michael Vick. See, here's the thing, and this has been the thing from the get-go. And this is where you can have an issue with the Jets, is that Rex Ryan, my understanding is, and we won't know what's true until Rex or Idzik is unemployed and actually speaks the truth, but my understanding is that Rex Ryan wanted Michael Vick to start the season as his quarterback. And the front office said, has to be Geno. Has to be Geno. This is the direction we move forward in. Now, are we still here? And that's the thing. Why would you ever have hired a general manager to work with a head coach who have completely opposite views? Isn't that a big, big problem? Right? I mean, you would think that these guys are supposed to go hand in hand. And it doesn't happen all the time. There's plenty of times where the head coach and the GM butt heads, but it feels like it's much more often with this. Because you know what? This is not his coach. And this was the problem going back 2 years ago when Woody Johnson made the decision to fire Mike Tenenbaum and keep Rex Ryan, and what he wound up doing. And what he wound up doing was putting a head coach in place, or keeping the head coach, and a GM in place who did not hire his coach. And you know what? You've seen that rear its ugly head time after time because the coach and the GM are not on the same page. Geno Smith, Michael Vick, who cares really, right? I mean, well, look, Michael Vick just played the other night and was dreadful. I mean, you can't have had two worse quarterback performances against the Buffalo Bills than you saw from Geno Smith the first time and Michael Vick the second time. And I don't think that we give the offensive line nearly as tough a time about what happened in that second game. Because Michael Vick, as bad as he was running for his life the entire time. But what you have, the issue that you have, is that the GM and the head coach are on completely different pages. And if the head coach wants, and look, I don't think Rex should be employed, and I've said it many times after this season. This is going to be a 3-win season, coming off 3 non-postseason appearances. It's time to move on. But he's the head coach of the team. And you know what? He should be able to decide who the quarterback is. If he wants Michael Vick, it should be Michael Vick. If he wants Geno Smith, it should be Geno Smith. If he wants Matt Sims, you know what? It should be Matt Sims. I don't want my general manager coming down and telling my head coach, this is what direction you're going to go in. Does it matter now at the Jets? No. But the problem starts from the top. And Woody Johnson made a huge mistake, and it's more obvious to me today than it has been the entire time. And that mistake was when you fire Tenenbaum, you should have fired Rex, or you should have kept Tenenbaum and kept Rex. They went together, and these two do not go together. 1-800-919-3776. Look, I don't think it matters. I really don't. As far as who the Jets quarterback is today, or on Monday, or by the end of 2014. I don't think it matters. But what matters is, and what matters a lot is, who's making the decisions. And it seems like this is a broken system right now. And how does it change? I don't know. I really don't. I mean, you could say fire Rex, fire Idzik, but you know what? You have to then bring in a duo that gets along. Or a duo, at least, that the decision maker is understood of who that's going to be. And you don't have that right now. And I'm telling you, you think that any big-time head coach in this league, you think Bill Belichick, you think Tom Coughlin, you think John Fox, you think any big-time head coach in this league would accept the GM telling him who the guy is? Think about that for a minute. That's just completely unacceptable, if that's the case. We'll find out more from Rich Cimini in just a moment. I want to get your take on this as well. And this is not going to affect wins and losses, because you could start Vick, you could start Smith, you could start Rex Ryan, you could start anybody at quarterback against the Dolphins. Jets are not winning that game. They're not winning that game. But what you have here is an issue in the chain of command, and that's what bothers me. So more so than Geno Smith getting the nod, I think the deeper problem is who's making the decisions and who do you trust? And here's my question for you on the Jets. And this is where I think you run into a whole lot of problems. Do you have any confidence in any of these decision makers right now? Because you know what? I sure don't. I don't have confidence in Rex. And you could tell me that they practice well. And you could tell me that they care for him. And you could tell me that they play hard. But you know what? My eyes tell me differently. Because you do not lose games 38-3 when you play hard. And you're good. And you're geared up. And you're ready. You don't. Buffalo can't score. Look at what Buffalo has done. They beat the Jets and put up 43 points. And then they played Kansas City and put up 13. And they played Miami and put up 9. And then they played the Jets and put up 38. Buffalo can't score. So my issue goes a lot deeper than the quarterback chosen. It goes to, do you have any confidence in the decision makers with this organization? 1-800-919-3776. Hey, Jeff, do we have Rich Cimini on the phone? He's not there with us? All right, we're working on getting Rich Cimini at 1-800-919-3776. That's how you get involved. We have a lot to do today. We're going to give away 2 tickets, not just like 2 normal tickets. We're going to give away 2 tickets to Knicks and Cavs at the Garden. We're going to do that during the course of the show, so you certainly want to stay tuned for that. Very exciting. We'll get into some Thanksgiving memories, I imagine, and we're going to look at the Jets and what's going wrong. And on top of the Jets right now, you see this about Carmelo Anthony? Carmelo Anthony is hurt and is probably not going to play for the Knicks, I don't know, anytime soon. Because from what I read about Carmelo Anthony, it sounds like the back is an issue, and he's having trouble running, and he's having trouble walking, and as someone that's had back issues, it's not a good sign. Because as a buddy of mine always says, I don't know anybody that used to have back issues. Everybody that has them for the long term. But let's get back to the Jets, and let's get to some of your calls at 1-800-919-3776. We know it's a bad team. We know they've had an awful season. We know they don't have a quarterback. We know that Michael Vick is not the answer for the future. We know that Geno Smith is not the answer for the future. Do the Jets have anything on this coaching staff or front office that makes you say, I have confidence in that guy? Kevin in New Jersey. You're on Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPN New York. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Rich. How are you, or Dave? I think they should go with Matt Sims. And I know Rex answered Michael K's question the other day. I was kind of laughing it off. And I think that's because Idzik's telling him he can't play Matt Sims. I think Rex wants to go with Sims, but he's getting word from above that he can't play him.
Well, and I don't know that that's true, but if that in fact is true, then and this is what bothers me so much, Kevin. Thanks for the phone call. What bothers me so much is I have no confidence of who's making the decision. Look, the Giants stink. Stink, right? I mean, that last drive from Dallas was one of the most embarrassing drives from a team that has focused on defense for 90 years. But you know what? When you look at the Giants, as bad as they are, and I'm not defending it because hear me, they are bad. You don't get a question of who's making the decisions. There's no, is Coughlin, is Reese, is Mara, is Tisch, who in fact is making the decisions on the Giants? You don't get that at all. Not even a little bit. And you don't get it on other, look, there's no issue in Jacksonville, right? Gus Bradley is the guy, and he wanted Blake Bortles to sit out the year and then decided, let me play him. And he has. Okay, what happens now with the Jets is who's making the decisions, who's going to stay, who's going to go. I mean, I think we all agree that Rex is gone, but I don't know that there's a definitive answer on John Idzik and what this guy has done. What this guy has done in his time here with the Jets, and I've had callers tell me, oh, he's done a good job. He has not. You look at 2 drafts. He has gotten Sheldon Richardson. Is that what you want to get excited about? That the guy hit on the 13th pick in the draft? You're expected to hit on the 13th pick in the draft. I'm not sitting here telling you, oh, man, what a job Jerry Reese did. You know what? You know where he grabbed Odell Beckham? 13. 13. Do you hear me waxing poetic about how great of a job Jerry Reese has done? Look, he got Andre Williams in this draft. He got Odell Beckham. But you know what? The bottom line is, who's leading this Jets team? And who should be? And what's the future? See, if you told, look at the Knicks right now. They stink. They're 4-11. And it's going to get worse, especially if Carmelo Anthony's out, right? But you know what? At least for once, I have confidence in the man running this thing. I can't say the same thing about the Jets right now. And I don't feel good about the weather right now either. You look outside your window, it is snow. Now, it's not Buffalo, but it's not good. And we have Bill Evans, our senior meteorologist for ABC 7, to give us the latest. What do you got, Bill?
Well, you know, what we've got is this heavy wet snow now has locked in across the area along the I-95 corridor, as we call it. So you go from Connecticut along I-95, head down to the city, and then, of course, it's the Jersey Turnpike. But all along that and north of it is where the heavy snow is falling. Long Island's going to be hard to get over to. Also, it's going to be a mixture of rain and snow. We've already seen 5 and 7 inches of snow piling up on the ground in areas of northern New Jersey, southeastern New York State, Rockland, Westchester County, and on up the Hudson River Valley, up above I-287, on up to I-84. So there's no truck traffic on I-84, and there's been over 80 wrecks already in New Jersey. So what I'm trying to tell you, between the weather and the traffic, no reason to get out this afternoon and this evening. If you must get out, it should just be for an emergency. You just should stay home tonight. If you want to travel for Thanksgiving and get to grandma's house, that sort of thing, do it tomorrow morning. The weather will be great on Thanksgiving Day. We've got another about 5-7 inches of snow left in this system, so it's going to be snowing till about 1 a.m. across the area. I think, we're looking at 1 to 3 in the city, the 5 boroughs, but you get just outside the city, easily going to go to 3 to 6, and you get above I-287 and above the Merritt Parkway. It's easily going to go to about a foot of heavy, wet snow. So you want to not travel this evening if you don't have to. And as I mentioned, tomorrow's a great day on Thanksgiving. We've got sun and clouds and a high of about 40 degrees, okay?
All right, thank you, Bill, giving us the worst news we could possibly hope for. The biggest travel day of the year is today, and we're going to get upwards of a foot of snow north and west of the city, making this a very white Thanksgiving.
You're listening to the best of Ruocco and Rothenberg on ESPNNewYork.com. You hear them every weekday beginning at noon, only on ESPN New York 98.7 FM.